going on, guys? My name is Spencer. This is S&B Garage. We're back in here working on the Project 914 once again. If you guys hear giggling behind the camera today, Javon is being my cameraman for the day, so I actually have someone besides the tripod to help me out. But yeah, today we're going to be pulling the engine transmission back out for, I don't even know how many times I've done it by now, but there's a bunch of things I want to check off and do with the engine out, just because it's been a while since it's been out. I want to make sure the timing belt is on correctly, because I've had a few issues with backfiring on the intake when it's trying to start up and it's acting like the timing is off a little bit. Maybe a tuning issue, but I just want to check. What else? I also want to modify a clutch cable bracket. I want to modify some shifter brackets. And I also need to space the transmission mounts off of the chassis so that the transmission doesn't rub on the chassis anymore. So let's get right to it. So these are the shifter cables that I'm removing. Oh, I also have to pull the exhaust off. I forgot about that one. So the transmission is rubbing on the sway bar and this chassis brace basically, so I've got some spacers to run in between the transmission mount and the stock transmission mount location, just some hardened steel bushings basically, to give me about 1/4 of an inch of space so it quits rubbing and giving me all sorts of issues. I also want to modify my clutch cable mount. I know a bunch of you guys, my viewers, didn't like my clutch cable mount, and it's not working as well as I would like it to. I don't know if it's because of this or because of its location, but while the engine's out, I figured we would just make a new one, which that was the main reason why I made it like this in the first place, is because the engine wasn't out, so I wasn't able to make one easily. But since it's out, we're going to be doing that. We pulled the exhaust off. We need to drain some coolant. And yeah, then we can start yanking all the wiring off and pull the engine out. Need to pull the clutch cable now off of the clutch arm. I don't remember what size it is. Smaller than 10. Now the wiring needs to come off. That's just a couple connectors. The way I have it set up is like just like 5 or so connectors, and that's all the wiring that has to be undone, which is pretty awesome versus having to fight with stuff. Fuel lines are off. That fuel looks really dirty. So now that's everything disconnected except for the starter cable, one of the axles, and part of the clutch cable. Dang! That freaking coolant is still going. Is it ever gonna end?
Dang.
That's out.
Oh, you're trying to push it in?
Yeah. I'm going to unbolt the front end and then tilt the engine down quite a bit. And what that'll do is it'll drain a bunch of that coolant out first of all, because the engine will tilt forwards. But then I can drop it down onto that creeper that you're laying on actually, and slide it out on that.
You're going to slide it out on this?
I'm going to lower the front half a little bit, and it'll drain the rest to coolant out. You're recording?
Yeah.
Because it might fall.
What is that?
I don't know. Yeah, probably moving around. That happening.
Oh my gosh.
That was not intentional.
They just all fell. All of this.
It just fell off the jack, that's why. So I'm gonna support the back of the jack like this. And then nope, bolt stuck. I have to do it like this. The right size.
Ah. Gosh.
Didn't fall.
Well, it did.
Well, I did, but not that time. I learned my lesson.
Now we slide it out.
Yeah. It's really heavy. So, I don't know if I don't think this was in the video, but Javon bet me. Well, he didn't really bet me, but he thought it was going to take 1 hour and 7 minutes to get it out. And how long did it take?
Let's check. It's 11:21. Oh, it's 6 minutes away.
So it took me 1 hour and 1 minute
Yeah.
from start to finish.
I'll take it out.
I used to be able to get it out in like 5 minutes. That was before it had fuel lines and wiring and axles and shifters, everything that it actually takes to make it drive. Okay. So, in order to check the timing, there's timing marks on these pulleys. If you want to show them. So there's one there, and there's one over here, and they have to line up in order to check the timing, and they are actually lined up somehow.
So, like, if they're like lined up straight.
Yeah, they're supposed to be straight up. But what's funny is that they just happen to be straight up when, like, I haven't touched the engine since the last time it was running. So literally it happened to shut off in
Right
this
on.
position. The chances of that happening are so low it could stop in almost any position. But I think, is this timed as well? No, it looks pretty close. There's a notch in there and it's lining up with the timing mark on the case. This mark is perfectly vertical, and I'm actually missing my timing mark on this one, but it should be, that's where it should be. And this one, that mark is lined up with the notch in the timing cover, so the timing is all good.
And this is the timing mark?
Yeah.
That's it?
So that's the timing mark on the cover, and then that's the timing mark on the pulley, so they're just supposed to line up.
Cool.
They're lined up. So timing is all good. I didn't even need to pull the engine to do that, because they were already lined up. Chances of that are pretty slim, but I guess it happens.
What are you gonna do next?
So let's see. It's cool just being able to roll the engine around like this. So I want to cut this off because this was for an old shifter cable bracket that I tried to do on the first try, but it didn't end up working out. So I'm going to cut this whole thing off. This bracket right here, which is the current bracket that I'm using for the shifter cable, needs a bead welded on the backside. Because I never did that, because I'm pretty sure I welded this on when it was in the car, so I just wasn't able to weld the backside. Up here we have the clutch arm, the clutch fork, so I want to build a bracket for the clutch cable to work that bolts to the transmission. The current one is bolting to the chassis. I just want to move it over the transmission. You all that suggested stuff know why. And then I have spacers to put over these holes on the transmission mount as well as on this side in order to space it out from the chassis so that it doesn't rub. It's rubbing right here it looks like, yeah, you can see on the case there's like a little notch mark where it's been rubbing on the chassis just a tiny bit, but just a tiny bit is a pain in the butt, makes a bunch of noise and it shakes the car around a bunch. So let's start fixing that. What are we gonna start with? I guess let's just cut this thing off.
Hey, did you just like test it and just see?
So my idea for the clutch cable bracket is I have a plate with a hole in it for the clutch cable to actually pass through. And you can get up close here if you want to come to my side. So essentially this, imagine the cable going through this bracket at about that angle so that it keeps this cable perfectly straight. And then these two bolts will have a bracket that attaches to them and comes up and has a slot for this to slip into, and then I can weld in 4 places so that it's super rigid, and then add a gusset on the bottom and on the top. So my first step that I'm going to do is the length for this. It needs to be about, let's see, about that long. That's leaving a little extra length. And then just near the end I'm going to weld a hole for this to pass through. So once I have this done, then I can make the bracket that attaches to those 2 transmission bolts. Something like that. But this can all go. That's not too much. And I can trim it as I go. But this will be a slot that this piece of steel slips into. And then I can weld it all over the place and it'll be nice and rigid.
Cool.
Yeah, like that. Let's go trace it onto some steel. I just have to cut it like in pies because the blade is too long to go all the way across because it needs to open up from that line over to here. So I just have to sort of cut it out in sections, and then I can clean it all up with a flap disc when I'm done. Alright, that's good enough for now. Once it's all welded with the other plate on it and stuff, I'm going to go back through and clean it up, trim all the fat, and make it look better. Now I need to mark where to drill the holes, figure out what size to drill the holes so that we can mount it on there so that we know when we're slotting it and welding it, we're actually doing it in the correct place. I'm just going to lay it underneath each of the bolts because that's going to work like that. And I can just mark. I have so much extra like meat on this piece of steel plate that I'm not too concerned about being super accurate with my marks because I've got a lot of wiggle room. So I need a drill bit that's at least that big. So you want to make sure when you're working with cables like these that there isn't any binding, especially in this joint, because if it does, then your engagement is not going to be smooth whatsoever. So instead of just welding this piece straight to the plate, I'm going to notch it. So I'm going to cut a crack in it so that I can slip this in there so that I can weld here, and then weld on the back side too. It'll make it a lot stronger. because you don't want a lot of flex in these, because otherwise your clutch isn't going to work very well. Beautiful.
It works?
I forgot what I was going to say because the camera died, but we ended up finishing up this clutch cable bracket and throwing a quick coat of paint on it. I just put one gusset there, it's super stiff, and everything's lined up nice and perfect and shouldn't be any binding whatsoever. So I'm just waiting for those "I told you so" comments from you people that told me I needed to do this in the beginning. Since I was in a gusseting mood, I also gusseted this right here, which is the side-to-side cable shifter mount. Those brackets are probably going to get redone eventually anyways in CNC'd aluminum, hopefully. But I figured I'd do that for now to try to clean up a little bit of slop in the shifter. But now we're going to throw the engine back in. And in order to solve the rubbing on the chassis problem, I've got these hardened steel bushings that are going to act as essentially spacers. Eventually I want to go to some sort of rubber isolation mount that goes in between here and the stock Porsche training mount locations, but this will work for now, just with a bolt ran between it. They're nice and thin because it just barely rubs on there. So I guess it's time we figure out how to get this thing back in here without dropping it again.
Is it hitting the top?
Yeah. See that? It's already poking through.
Got 1 volt through?
Yeah, see how it's poking through?
Where?
The hole in the training mount.
Oh, yeah.
Smell like this.
Oh.
Now it's at least going to be held on by a bolt.
Oh, gosh.
What?
This is scary.
It's got something holding it on now, so it won't fall.
Kind of.
That's all it needs. It doesn't need much.
You're doing it. You're doing it.
Yep. Sweet. There we go.
Good?
Yep. I just need to tighten them all down and...
It's in?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's in terms of engine mounts.
Yeah, the end. But now we need to get all the wires and everything.
Yep, all the little stuff.
It's in.
All the stuff that makes the engine work. Alright, so we finally got everything put back together. Axles are in. Everything's bolted down. Shifter cables are attached and adjusted. Exhaust is back on. Clutch cable is attached and adjusted. Wideband oxygen sensor is attached. What else is there? And all the coolant lines. and fuel lines and accelerator cable. Everything is back together. So we're going to drop it down onto the ground and make sure it starts up and everything, make sure we didn't miss anything, and see how it feels. Because hopefully that clutch cable especially and the shifter should feel a bit tighter. The shifter already feels a little bit better, but the clutch is really what I'm worried about. I have to figure out which fuel line goes where.
Whoa!
You left it in gear.
Oh.
So I'm having trouble getting this thing to start and run. My first thought was, well, actually, I had this issue where the crankshaft position sensor wasn't reading, and it turned out the cable that hooks up to the Mega Squirt had just come a little loose, but only on one side. So it was still connected and showing everything, but the pins that the crankshaft position sensor are hooked up to weren't making contact. So make sure you have your little nuts that go from the body into your DB37 and serial connector installed on the case of your Mega Squirt, because if you don't, then you'll have tons of issues. Like that is one issue that obviously that's the first time I've had it, but that's one issue that I found. And I figured out the issue that I've been fighting of it not staying connected is actually because I didn't have those nuts. So the board could move around inside the case a little bit, and I was just losing connection over and over again. Now that I have those in there, it stays connected perfectly fine, and I can finally get to tuning it. Now I can't get it to start though, but I think it's because I'm out of gas. Hopefully, because it's like totally empty, and it was already pretty empty, but I spilled some gas, so now it's totally empty. So hopefully that's the problem, and I can just put some gas in it and it'll start, and we can actually get tuning this thing. That's where we're going to end this video off today. I can't get it to start, but I think it's just out of gas, so gotta go get some more gas and try to fill it up again. Unfortunately, I can't drive it to the gas station, but at least I should be able to tune it once I get gas in it, or at least, there's the train again, at least try to tune it. I think I found a base map for one of these cars. That's been my big problem, is I haven't had a base map at all to like go off of, so my tune is sort of just like, I don't even know, like just nonsense. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Smash that like button if you like this video. Give Javon a shout out for
Peace out.
recording this video, and subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Mic is still on,
It's your
right?
boy Javon. Yeah. So yeah, we're just working on a car here. Cameraman. Yeah. Yeah. Peace out. Safety goggles.